So the lights are off, but we are just getting ready here on the Nights On, Lights Off podcast for April. This is Will of the Game Escape channel with Jay Shy of ShinMegamiTalks. Jay, how you doing this evening?
The night is good. I'm happy to make it through to the weekend to play some games and talk games, finally.
Yeah, much needed. It is much needed. We were just saying we both had very hellish weeks. So nothing like coming home and having some gaming in front of you.
Yeah, most definitely. It's been a hell of a week. Tax season is finally over, and I just need to decompress, play some video games, and talk some video games.
Yeah, and if you're getting a refund, you can start spending your refund
Yep.
importing. Well, I know that you have been playing a game that you're very passionate about. So we always start off. What are we playing? Jay, talk about this game.
Okay, so I was really hoping you would have gotten around to it, but I know we both had busy weeks. I've been playing it late into the night. I guess it's the first import. Well, actually, no, it's probably the fourth import that I have for the month of April, and it is Slave Zero X. I couldn't wait until the US release to come out, so I imported it anyway. The Japanese import had a better limited edition, so that's why I imported it. But this was a game that I played way back on the Sega Dreamcast, and it apparently this game is a prequel to the original. I didn't know that. I actually had to look it up. But it is a prequel, and it is a. How do I explain this? If you are a fan of PS1 era type platformers, kind of like akin to Pandemonium or Klonoa, in terms of graphics, it kind of reminds me of that. The way it's like 2D, but then as you're running, the game moves in a 3D space, which is it kind of throws you off in this game, but it looks really good. The thing is with this game is that it's a how do I don't even know how to describe this game. It's a beat 'em up game brawler, but it plays like a fighting game. It's very strange. Um, it's like a beat 'em up hybrid. Oh, as a matter of fact, do you remember? I don't know if you've ever played it, but Batman Forever on the Sega Genesis or the Super Nintendo. Do you remember that?
Uh, I may have rented it, but it's very foggy.
Okay, it's a really bad game, but I will admit I did have fun with this game because I did have it. It is Batman and Robin, but it plays like Mortal Kombat. This game doesn't play like Mortal Kombat. It plays more like Blaze Blue or Guilty Gear, but as a 2D brawler. Yeah, yeah. Wrap your head around that for a
So
second.
I mean, you're describing it, and I feel like there were some Neo Geo games that had that kind of same mechanic. It was a brawler, but it had fighting game mechanics. And of course, I can't think of the Japanese titles,
Hmm.
but I don't know if it was the Sengoku series. I feel like they had some of that, but there was definitely it was kind of like a sort of Streets of Rage clone that
I've only played Sengoku. Well, Sengoku 3 mostly. I know it had inputs like a fighting game, but it still played like a beat 'em up. But you can put in inputs and then different things would happen. But in this game, there's a lot of air juggling. There's a lot of like command grabs in this game. It's very, very weird. And the only way I can describe it is I'm trying to think of a character. Okay, we both play Under Night. The
yes.
best way I can describe this game is picture if you play Merkava, but there's no stretchy arm things happening, but it's like a Merkava character that plays like Hyde in
Okay.
a 2D brawler. It plays like that.
That
That's the
is that is a
best way I can,
unique concept.
that's the best way I can describe the game. It's good so far. The only I guess con that I can honestly say with the game that I've found so far is the parry system of the game feels unintuitive. It feels very, very bad. Um, the game kind of drops you into it. It starts off like a Super Nintendo game, right? Like it doesn't give you a tutorial. It kind of does. It gives you a tutorial that you just basically press A through like a bunch of like menus and screens, and then the game just drops you into the game and expects you to work all of these systems. Um, it doesn't really, kind of slowly give it to you. You just kind of have to play the game and figure it out. And the game is kind of clunky at first, but then you get the hang of it, and it just feels great. But then you run into very weird difficulty spikes like throughout the game. Um, Enemies just get really, really difficult to beat. And as a matter of fact, and I thought about this in the car after I told you I've been playing the game. If I could describe this game, it would be now that I remember, it would be a 2D version of Ninja Gaiden Black. That's what it plays
Hmm.
like in terms of difficulty.
When you talk about the tutorial system, it just got me thinking. That is one of the worst, I think, aspects of, and I'll say mostly Japanese games where they give you
Mhm.
like 12 pages to click through
Yeah.
and then, hey, go ahead, do this, use all of these systems. I never enjoyed that, but it's an interesting thing that you're saying it's like a 2D Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
Um,
I will say this though, even though they give you like these 12 pages that you have to just run through, it also comes with a manual. So that's a plus. And it's in full color. So I'll give it that.
well, that you got to love the full color manuals in 2024. I am going to try to get to it this weekend.
I, I,
And
I think you'll enjoy it.
yeah, and I also see it's on Steam, so I
Mhm.
may grab it there and just leave it sealed. I'm not sure, but it is definitely on my radar.
I definitely do think this game is going to be, for collector's purposes, I do think that this game is going to be hard to find. I just, there is no other game that kind of looks like it out there on the market. And even though the game is very difficult, it's very fun and it's rewarding. Um, and a lot of collectors look for that later on, 10, 15 years from now. They look for those games that don't look like other games. And I do think that this game, especially the US release one, I think it's going to be a low print for sure. And it's going to be highly sought after for sure.
Yeah, I need to get on the US release, I think, as well, because
Yeah.
I was surprised that they were even going to bring it out here. When we discovered it, I think we were just assuming it would be Japan only, but it's
Hmm.
coming to Best Buy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Best Buy. I haven't seen it anywhere else but Best Buy. I am double dipping. I pre-ordered it.
Well, we're gonna talk about double dipping a little later on, but I think this is a case where you may want to do it because I think this is going to be one of those rare ones.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, for sure.
Any other games you have been absorbed with this past month?
Um, yes. Another one. I think I told you to grab. I said it was amazing. I did buy a shmup. It's a horizontal shmup called Drainus. Um, I don't know why. I don't. I just feel like that title is wrong, and I feel like the game should have been called Drainius, like it's a
Hmm.
Gradius kind of play off of, but it's not. But this game is extremely fun. Um, I highly recommend anybody that hasn't played Drainus, go play Drainus. It is a Gradius like shmup, but there's a different mechanic to it. There's a mechanic where there is a kind of like a ring around the ship that absorbs certain kinds of bullets and then reflects them back and turns them into missiles. It's really, really interesting. It almost reminds me of like the system that Raystorm did, where you kind of hold the button and just kind of drag around enemies, and then when you let it go, it kind of launches like lasers all over the place. It kind of reminds me of that. It has the same system as Gradius, where you power things up and you select stuff, but it does it in a certain way where you don't have to select anything. It kind of moves you build your ship and you put different weapons and power ups in different slots. And when you grab different items, it just selects that slot and adds the power up to the ship. So you can kind of stack them on top of one another. And every time you get hit, it takes one of those power ups away. So it's kind of like your ship has a life bar.
Yeah, it's funny because as you're describing this, I'm looking it up, and you did tell me like, oh, you got to get on this one. And I honestly don't think I bought it, but I can't remember. At this point, I've ordered so much stuff that this might be on a shelf somewhere. But yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. I
It
gotta
it's really
double
good.
check.
It's also very easy to get into, which I was very shocked by because it looks difficult when you look at the trailer. But when you start playing the game, you realize just how easy it is. I I got I think I beat the game on the first loop, and I only died probably like 3 times, maybe 3 or 2 times, and that's really weird for a shmup. But the game is easy; it's very accessible, and I think that's one of the things that made it fun is that you can kind of get through it fairly easily. And I told all my friends about it, and they played it, and they were like, "Yo, you were so right about this game." And I was like, "Yeah, luckily you grabbed it because I don't know why this game it doesn't look like it had a very large print run because it's from a small time studio, and a lot it kind of flew underneath the radar. Like a lot of people weren't paying attention to it. So I think this is another one of those games that people are going to talk about, you know, years from now, but forget it exists, and then some YouTuber is going to make a video about it later on.
Well, and I think the accessibility that you talk about is at least a key point for me because I think games is the side-scrolling shooter has never been my best genre, like
Mm.
Gradius, Darius, things like that. I've had way more difficulty with those than vertical shooters for some reason. But like I said, I'm just looking at this. It looks like this was obviously Japanese release, but I don't know if it got a. Did it get a North American or is it like a super rare
No,
games or a
it
limited
doesn't.
run?
No, it doesn't look like it got a. It's probably going to get a limited run, probably print, maybe, but it's so underneath the radar, like no one knew it exists. I don't know if it's on Steam, but it's probably on Steam. But
Yeah, it's apparently strictly limited. Did
oh,
a
sh-
did a
oh,
release.
oh, Strictly Limited did it. Oh, wow. Then so it's a European release. Yeah.
Yeah,
So Japan and Europe. Yeah,
and it is
that's
sold
fine.
out.
Oh, is it?
Yep, it is
Yeah,
gone.
yeah. If you can grab a Japanese version of it, just grab it.
Well, now I know what I will be doing after we stop recording.
Yeah, that one's a good one.
Yeah, this is the most expensive podcast to produce, I find, because once we start going, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to buy that. He's right about that, and I'm like, oh yeah, just spend a couple $100.
I think I think on a couple of suggestions I was kind of right about a couple of them that you've picked up so far.
You definitely are, and I think if you're listening to this, like I said, Jay's got some of the best instincts in collecting. If you listen to what he suggests and what he recommends on this podcast, you will not go wrong from a gameplay standpoint, but I think also a collectability standpoint. You know what you're talking about, my friend.
I try years of practice and failed attempts for sure. But I've gotten lucky over the years.
Well, we like we said, I think if you play the cards right, if you build the right Switch collection, you can put your kids through college, buy a
Mhm.
Ferrari. At least again, that's what I tell my wife.
Switch collecting I've noticed has gotten I won't lie. I do enjoy collecting for the Switch, but I have to admit it looks like it's getting a little out of control. Because there's games coming everywhere for the Switch. They're all over the place.
Yeah, and they are also, I mean, they're fun games. Like if you follow the weekly or monthly releases, especially if you come from our age of gaming, there's definitely going to be, 4 or 5 games that that you want to pick up. I just feel that as much as I love my Switch collection, I want that Switch 2 with backwards compatibility so these games run better.
Yeah.
And I think if they give us that, then it's going to turbocharge Switch 1 collecting even more.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Because I 'Cause
Uh,
I'll pop in some games that I have, and I'm like, "Wow, this is a fascinating game," but it just runs like garbage.
yeah. I won't lie. There was some dips in because I got Slave Zero X on the Switch, and there are some. I did notice there are some points where there's too many enemies on screen. The game will take a dip in frames. It just slows down considerably. It reminds me of have you ever played Final Fight 3 on the Super Nintendo?
Yes.
Do you remember that slowdown that would happen like periodically throughout that game? It feels like that.
Yeah, that is unpleasant. That is
Yeah.
and in 2024, you're like, granted, the Switch is not a new console, it's about 7 years old now, but I feel, that game we talked about a couple months ago, Bakaru, it was the Goemon clone
Oh yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah,
guy with the drumsticks, and that's a really, really fun game, but I feel like the sluggish frame rate completely took me out of it.
yeah. Yeah.
And I shouldn't say completely, because I did kinda make my way through it, but in bits and pieces.
Mm.
At certain points, you're just like, "Man, this is a missed opportunity." So, if if we get that, and I know there are Switch 2 rumors, I haven't been following all of them, but I feel like it's maybe 50-50 that we get backwards compatibility, but if we do, I think a lot of people are gonna go back and say, "Alright, now I wanna play or replay or rebuy some of these games."
Uh, well, I haven't really been following anything on the Switch 2, but I don't know why. I just get this weird feeling that the Switch 2 isn't going to have backwards compatibility. I don't know why. I just feel like it's not. I just I feel like if I were a company and things are as high priced as they are today, I want to maximize my dollar. So I would incentivize um consumers to buy the new products and not worry about the old. But that's just me. I tend to think like a corporate scumbag when I'm trying to put myself in a corporate guy's shoes.
Yeah, I definitely see that argument, and I think a lot of people were leaning that way from the get-go, but I think there was a leak of something out there, like, they figured out, like, what NVIDIA chip it might be using, and
Mhm.
then I recall reading that people are saying, "Oh, well, the backwards compatibility could be possible," and I think one of the reasons why they might consider it is, as we've talked about on the show, game development has become so expensive.
Oh my god, yes.
So, rather than waiting and Nintendo puts out great games, but what do they have in the pipeline? Like, will you get the Metroid Prime 4? Is that gonna be ready to go? And is that truly gonna be like a next gen title?
Mm.
Or is it gonna be something like Breath of the Wild, where it was developed for the Wii U and then also came out on the Switch? So I think some people are saying, "Hey, Nintendo's not gonna have that many releases. Publishers aren't gonna have that many releases ready to go. So let's do backwards compatibility so we get the system in people's hands and they've got something to play."
All right. Yeah,
I'm
I can honestly see that, but um, I don't know. We would definitely have to wait and see because I'm not optimistic about these corporate execs making the right decision for their consumers. That's just me. I'm a bit jaded. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with you. I just maybe I'm hoping against hope, but something tells me that I don't know, who's gonna sign on? Like, who's gonna have games ready to go for this system? I think if I'm the EAs of the world who's, putting out these AAA games, I probably wanna see the install base before I start, working on Switch 2 ports.
Right. I
I mean, unless it's gonna be such a standardized architecture to everything else that it'll
mhm.
just be super easy to port it over.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that the big publishers are gonna make any games for Nintendo. I just don't see that. I see like Nintendo console being primarily like an indie console or a console for like low budget like products everyone loves. Because I think that the AAA gaming space, it seems like a lot of people are kind of upset with it, and it feels like they're just relegated to PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. Um, I just see Nintendo as kind of like, if you want things that are just fun, you go to Nintendo.
Yeah, although if you're right about that, it kinda makes you think, what is the Switch 2 going to be? Because if you're not gonna have any big third-party publisher support, then you're gonna be waiting on those Nintendo exclusives.
Mhm.
Granted, I guess they could do remakes of Switch 1 titles just like they did, with the Wii U on the Switch, but I feel like Nintendo's production is kind of slowed down.
Yeah,
Although this past year has been pretty decent with Mario Wonder. There was that new Princess Peach game, which I haven't played. In fact, I haven't even read any reviews about it, but I remember
yeah,
wanting it when they announced it. And then there was that Donkey Kong versus Mario. I forget what it is. That's like that little sort of wind up game, where
yeah.
you're leading the Mario wind-ups to the end of the screen, and it's kinda like the Game Boy Donkey Kong, but modernized, so that game was really good as well.
Yeah, I actually forgot, I'm not gonna lie, I actually forgot those games came out. Um, but I definitely agree. They've slowed down considerably now that I think about it. And Nintendo, didn't they had layoffs, right?
I don't I mean, we had the list, let me double check. I don't know that I saw, at least the last time, like, we talked about it on the show, they were not on that list of massive layoffs.
Oh no? Oh, okay.
But I mean, they could very well be between, then and now. But I'm wondering, like, so if you have that sort of slowed production from Nintendo, the big third-party publishers are not interested, and then you have the indie titles, is that enough to sustain the Switch 2? I'm not sure. I think maybe they would wanna get a couple of those games as services type things on the Switch to running well, cross-play or
Mm.
compatibility with other platforms, so kids can get a little taste of those games, plus you get the Nintendo stuff, and then you get the third-party limited print stuff that appeals to us. It's gonna be an
Yeah.
interesting story. I don't know where they're gonna go,
Mhm.
quite honestly.
Yeah. It would be fun to see what's gonna happen because um even though we're speculating, the speculation is giving me a bit of chills because I do want to see what they're gonna do.
Well, I guess they would need to first get some kind of, like, modern game chat service going. I mean, there's still, I mean, I think you kinda have to use, like, Discord chat on Switch. Is that still a thing, or have they finally released, like, a polished online system?
You got me. I don't use online at all. I'm that old guy that just plays video games on his couch with his buddies. I
Yes,
don't use online at all.
I only played online on the Switch once, and that was for that,
F-Zero, right?
F-Zero 99.
Right.
And I enjoyed that. I thought that was very fun, but then when it was time to, like, actually pay, I just felt, I'll do it next week," and then next week became a couple months, and I just
Never
never went
happened.
back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's gonna be one of the interesting gaming stories of mid-2024 into 2025, is to see what they are gonna do
Yeah.
with the Switch 2. Any other games you've been playing?
Um, Actually, yeah. So I did pick up a copy of Unicorn Overlord. I picked that up,
Okay.
and that game, won't lie, that game absorbed a small, I'm not gonna say a medium chunk of my life for a bit before I had to just be like, I gotta stop playing this because I'm gonna get addicted to it. But that game is fantastic. Um, it is a gem of a game. Definitely going to be one of those games for sure that's probably going to be highly sought after in a couple of years. Very hard to find. The Switch version, if I'm not mistaken, sold out pretty quick. But you can still find it on PS4. You can still find, or is it PS5 and Xbox Series? I think it's called. You can still find it on those consoles. But I think that the Switch version, the last time I checked, it was like gone. And it seems like that is the version that everybody wants. But if you don't know what Unicorn Overlord is, it is a spiritual success. Well, it feels like a spiritual successor to Ogre Battle. It has all the Ogre Battle, moving your characters from one town to another, liberating one town, and it has all the different job classes, and it even has the what do you call it? The I don't know what you call that system in Fire Emblem where the sword is mightier than the axe and the axe is mightier than the spear and all that. It does kind of that same exact thing. But man, you have to play this game. If you don't have it, you got to get your hands on Unicorn Overlord.
I did buy it on your recommendation and sadly did not uh, did not get a chance
I'm gonna be
to dig into it.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay, and I'm gonna. this is this is going to sound horrible to say, but I think you should keep it sealed. I think you should keep it sealed and get another copy because I don't know why this game just, well, you know what, now that I think about it, maybe not, only because Atlas is kind of weird right now. They always push a new remake version of stuff now, so it's kind of hard to gauge Atlas. Before, I would say buy two copies, keep one sealed, or if you're a collector. But with the way Atlas moves now, it's very iffy.
I think I lucked out because I got a North American copy, but I think I got it off of PlayAsia, if I'm not mistaken. So that was the last place you could get a North American copy
Oh
because
wow.
they were selling like the Asian multi-language, but they also had the
Mhm.
US version and the Japanese version. So I may keep that sealed. I'm guessing it's easy enough to get digital. I'm sure it's on
Yeah.
PlayStation Store or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, I it's collecting for Atlas games is so weird now. Before, I would say, jump on this Atlas game, buy this Atlas game right now. And now I'm very, if I want to play it, I'll buy it. I'll get a game. But I'm not gonna lie, I actually ended up with two copies by accident. I didn't realize that I pre-ordered it on two separate accounts. So I ended up with two copies, and I tried to sell one, but my buddies don't like those kind of games, so I'm just gonna keep it, the other one. But with Atlas now, it just feels like, and then 2 years later they'll sell you the same game, but it has a new subtitle and it has a new character or something. It seems like they're doing that a lot, and it makes their games, to me, devalue, in my opinion.
I think you're right about that because I feel like, well, who owns them now, right? The
Sega.
Sega bought, yeah. So I think they're just trying to monetize every last bit of those games that they can. And it was what was that? Well, there was the Persona 3
Golden.
Reloaded,
Oh, Reloaded, and then there was a couple.
bunch of Goldens,
Hmm.
and then they had the Soul Hackers 2 release, which I was excited about because I liked the first one, and I feel like that's pretty much worthless. That was printed a million
Yeah.
times, and I don't recall it being a great game. I don't know
Soul
if you
Hackers
played
2.
it.
Soul Hackers 2 I skipped. I skipped that game because I love the first one so much. But I skipped Soul Hackers 2. But there was another game that got oh, didn't they just reprinted SMT5.
Really?
Yeah, it's called Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance now. They reprinted that, but now it comes out on every console now. And it has a new character with a new subplot or something. And I was like, I'm not buying this again. I'm
That
not
is
I'm,
irritating.
I'm not gonna buy this game again. Why they keep doing it like over and over and over. I think, in my honest opinion, if you're going to collect Atlas games, especially if you're collecting it for, because you're anticipating that it's going to be hard to find later on, you have to collect games that, especially if it comes from Atlas, games that no one cares about, like Etrian Odyssey. A lot of people don't care about Etrian Odyssey, but all of the Etrian Odyssey games are expensive now. Um, Games like what was it? A lot of the 3DS stuff. What was it? Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey, the
Strange
remake,
Journey, yes.
Redux. That one I think is about $80 now. I think.
Really?
Yeah. So you have to if you're gonna collect for Atlas, you have to look at certain games. You can't look at games that are in the mainstream because they're gonna print enough of those.
You
But
know, it's funny. I got the Strange Journey Redux, I want to say, as a Christmas gift for my wife last year, or like a birthday gift last
okay.
year. And it was sealed, but it had the worst shrink wrap. It was like dirty with something and it was
Oh
falling off. I don't know where she got it. And it just killed me. And usually I would keep things wrapped, but this, I don't know, sticker residue and the fact that it was loose on one end, partially ripped, it bothered me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm ripping this open.
yeah, yeah. Because once it doesn't, if the plastic, I do the same thing. If the plastic doesn't look good on the outside, I just open it and
Yeah.
I play it. I don't know what it is. The plastic to me just feels like a piece of the art for me. That's just me.
I feel the same way. You need a clean seal, like mirror like, tight. And I mean, I've gotten some things even from like limited run where like you guys, take 15 years to actually ship out the product that we order and it's in the worst shrink wrap job ever.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
had that happen to me.
it
I've
drives
had.
me crazy.
Now that you mention it, I actually have to get a copy of Redux. I never bought it when it first came out, so I'm probably gonna have to pony up the 80.
Well, it was one of the things where I had the original and that was one of the games where I said, I really want to play this and I never got around to playing it. So it was sealed. And then I knew Redux came out, and I always wanted to get that, and it kept on going up in price. And then I finally get it, and unfortunately, I wanted to keep it sealed, but now I can play it because it's pristine CIB plus.
Nice, very nice.
I just have to find the time now. It's been
This is.
crazy,
What
man.
have what have you been playing? Have you been playing anything?
Well, one game, and I'll save a couple others for it came from Japan, but I've pretty much been playing one game, and that is Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. That's
Oh, okay, yeah.
yeah,
You've
the
been waiting for
latest latest Yakuza game, and it came out, I think, in late January, and at that point, I was somewhat busy, so I'm like, I'm just gonna hold off on this game. I have to admit, I don't like the RPG spin-offs that they're doing with the Ichiban character.
that.
I mean, they're not bad. They're actually good, solid, like, modern takes on classic turn-based RPGs, but I feel, to me, Yakuza was always a beat 'em up game. It
Right,
was always like a 3D Streets of Rage, and so there's something a little tedious about the turn-based battle system, even though it's objectively, like, as an RPG fan, a very good battle system. I want to go back to pummeling people in a brawler.
Yeah, I get.
So, now the first game, like, once I got over that, I don't know, sort of irritation that I had with it, it was a very good game, and I would recommend it to anyone. This second game is the first game that's set outside of Japan. It's primarily set in Hawaii, and there's a lot to do. There's a ton of content. It plays really well. I mean, I don't have any complaints about what it is kind of mechanically, if you want to think of it that way. Um, but as a Yakuza game, it's really lacking. And one of the things that has really bothered me is that they made seemingly no attempts to portray the language barrier that this character has if you just read the dialogue.
Mhm.
So, I'm not gonna spoil it, but basically you're pulling this Yakuza guy out of the streets of Japan and you're sending him to Hawaii. He speaks not a word of English. So you're putting him okay, he meets a Japanese character, he's in this little kind of Japanese bubble at the beginning of the game. That's great. But as he kind of moves out of that, there's hardly any English voice acting. It's like everyone you meet in the US state of Hawaii magically speaks Japanese. And I thought to myself, and you know, I always play it with the original like Japanese audio.
Yeah.
So now as you move further into the game, you'll encounter like American characters, and they also all speak Japanese all the time, even though according to the dialogue, they should be speaking in English.
Right.
Now, they do have English voices, and so sometimes they will switch out, like if they're talking to, like if it's two cops, right? When one of the cops is interacting with you, it'll be in Japanese, and then when he talks to his colleague, it'll be in English. But this is the worst video game English voiceovers that I have heard. Like this is Shenmue 1 level.
Oh wow, that's bad.
Yeah. And so it's kind of breaks the immersion, and it's like
Mm,
I know this is a silly game, but it could have been like fascinating to see how they played with that like Yakuza characters in the United States, and they just never, at least as far as I've played, hit that, and then I thought, well, you know what? Let me turn off the Japanese audio, turn on the American audio. Maybe, the English voice acting is just more authentic. That was not the case. Like hearing the Japanese characters as kind of like bog standard, like worse than anime voices, and then also the bad dialogue of kind of the other like Hawaiian American characters. It just I don't know. It's just it's not doing it for me. And then you layer in the fact that I've never been to Hawaii. Have you been to Hawaii?
I've never been to Hawaii. No.
So I may be totally off base, but it just feels like a very generic setting. Like where I feel like now I've never been to Japan either, but I feel like a lot of the Yakuza games create a sense of place
Mhm.
that feels authentic, and it might just be because I have no idea what Japan is like, actually.
Right.
So Japanese people might play the game and be like, "Oh, that's just a standard Tokyo, whatever. That has no bearing on reality." But when I play this Hawaiian map, which admittedly is quite large, it might be the largest Yakuza map. It just feels like it was sort of cut and pasted together out of a lot of visual stereotypes that you associate with Hawaii when you just think
Right.
about it.
I
So
could,
again, I could be totally off. Like maybe like there's this one place where you're kind of like fighting up the floors of a hotel, and I think that is kind of based on a real hotel, and maybe it's accurate, but I don't know. It's not doing it for me.
You know what the thing is it's that you kind of have those that I'm doing my air quotes. You kind of have that Hawaii settings in other games. That I think that's the problem. They're in so many other games. Like not saying Hawaii is in other games, but game like uh the setting that's like Hawaii is in so many other games, like Far Cry or Dead Island. You have those tropical places that you see so much, and I think that's probably why you feel like that. I'm just I'm giving
Yeah,
an example probably because it's in a lot of other games like what's another one not Dying Light, but that was more like I guess that was tropical ish.
yeah. Well, what other tropical like Dead Islands?
Dead Island was
Uh,
definitely like Hawaii, like for sure.
there
But
was
that
the Just Cause series, which is
Just
actually pretty
Cause,
fun.
I was thinking about that too. But you have that tropical setting in so many other games. Crisis. I
Yeah.
mean, it's in so many other games, but there's something about the tropical setting that just feels lazy, And I don't know, it just doesn't work all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, granted, like a lot of the mini games that they give you are really absorbing. Like, there's one kind of like unfinished hotel that's become an underground labyrinth,
Hmm.
and you kind of go deeper and deeper, and it's actually kind of like uh, Persona, like when you try to go through like the Tartarus world and
Tartarus,
stuff like,
yeah.
yeah. So
Hmm.
that's pretty fun. But then at a certain point, I was taken to this island. Like the game just stopped and it became a what I'll call like a riff on Minecraft.
Hmm.
And it's just like, oh, you're going to be stuck on this island for a little while, and these evil corporations are polluting it. So take this bat and beat all of the garbage. And then when you do that, go hunt for resources and craft furniture. And by the way, the boat won't come get you for 3 days. So have fun.
Oh wow,
And so I'm just like stuck in this interlude. Like, I don't know, just stuff like that really bothers me.
that just screams dull to me.
Yeah, and like I said, it's massive. Like there's all sorts of side stories that I haven't done. And I think one of the other issues that some other people have pointed out too, like it's unbalanced in a sense because if you do all of the side stories, you will level up very quickly
Mm,
and then the battles will become somewhat easy.
okay.
But if you don't do any, then it can get pretty challenging. So you're always like, oh, do I do that side story? Do I not? Um, Yeah. I mean, I'll probably finish it at some point because I do finish all of these games, but I have to say this is my least favorite Yakuza game.
It
It
sounds
might
like it.
it might be a little like ahead of Dead Souls,
I
like
remember that.
the Yakuza, I think that was what it was called, Dead
Yeah,
Souls, yeah,
Dark
which
Souls.
was just basically trying to make Yakuza a third person or first person shooter or combo of the both, and it was just not great. But, like, I don't wanna run it down because it is a good game. Like, it's not a terrible game, but if you're a crazy like me who's played the whole series, I'm just weighing it against other games, it's not doing it for me.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I
So that
will.
is
On
that
a,
that is my diatribe on Yakuza.
I will give you one before we move on to the next segment. I do want to talk about one game that I think we forgot to talk about. That I did recommend that you should play and should buy, and it was that game called Signalis.
I
Uh,
did buy that, and I started it one night, and then I kind of fell asleep. Not because it's a bad game, it's because I was absolutely exhausted. But like the Steam Deck hit my face.
oh wow, it's one of those nights.
That one of those nights. Yeah,
Yeah, really quick, I just wanted to say this game surprised me for sure. I had low expectations for this game, but I did play a couple of hours of it, and I can't wait to finish it because it's promising so far. So survival horror that's not too big on the horror. Well, I'm not gonna say too big. It doesn't scare me to the point where I don't want to play it. Um, there's only been one game that did that to me, so this was good so far. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish that. But I just
It
wanted to talk
was
about that really quick.
it was very unique. It was very unique. I was
Yeah.
enjoying the aesthetic before my eyes crossed and I lost consciousness. And I do have
Um,
the physical game too, because I know, like, you gave me the tip off, it's gonna be rare, so
yeah, yeah. Just
I
grab it.
got the physical.
Just grab it.
Alright. Well, we always like to throw in some gaming news, and I think we've got, like, 2 points that are tied together. So there was this study that got a lot of press maybe 4 weeks ago, 3, 4 weeks ago,
Hmm.
and it was the Newzoo Game Study, and the long and short of it was that a lot of gamers are choosing older, like 6, 7-year-old games like, Fortnite, things like that, games as services, and those games are soaking up a lot of time,
Yep.
more time than you would expect. Now, to be fair, they did. And this is a kind of a very long read, but they did at certain points talk about, well, certain new properties are profitable, but it's a narrow slice. But the takeaway was that, yeah, people are just gravitating. Young, I'm assuming this is like the younger core demographic, are
Hmm.
gravitating towards older games, and then it kind of connected with some stuff that you had sent me about modern game fatigue
Yeah.
and more people getting tired by industry practices, a lot of which we've talked about, but also the politics of modern AAA games. And I thought that was a really interesting point. And I honestly do not, as somebody who doesn't play a lot of those games,
Hmm.
like, what is going on with the political aspects that's bothering people? I'm not sure.
So I don't play those games either, but I do like to stay. I wouldn't say stay in the loop, but I do like to listen to what the younger crowd is talking about because I feel like when you listen to what they have to say, it kind of tells you where the future of the hobby that you enjoy is going to go in the long run. So I
100%.
so I like to listen to what they have to say, and I noticed I even made a video about this. I think it was like 2 years ago. They've been complaining about this for a while. It's not something that's been new. It's been slowly, gradually happening. Um, a lot of young kids are making videos and comparing their video game experiences today to our video game experiences when we in the 90s, and how things are not the same, and why can't games just be fun. And it's more or less about um there's a lot of, I guess, a lot of political correctness inserted into their games that are supposed to be fun. There is, like, apparently there's this new trend now, apparently, that women can't be beautiful in a game. They have to look very, very ugly, or they have to be very overweight, and all this stuff. And
Really?
yeah, apparently that's a thing. And
So, like, Laura Croft is, like, in a muumuu running
what
around? I
it,
mean,
well
this
Laura Croft is not even in a recent game, but like a lot of gamers are taking comparison pictures. And if you take, I don't know what her name is, but the girl from Horizon Zero Dawn, if you look at the way she looked in her first game compared to how she looked in her new game, she doesn't look the same. Mary Jane from Spider-Man on the PS4 compared to Mary Jane in Spider-Man 2, she doesn't look the same. It's like the women get progressively more unattractive. That's like the first thing. The second thing is, like, apparently every character is like uh, gay apparently now. I don't know. But anyway, there's all these different things being inserted their game except for the game just being fun to play. And what I started to do was, instead of just kind of like reading articles and looking at and listening to what everybody is saying, what I did was is try to put myself in their shoes. Um, a lot of these kids and people who are younger than us, they spend most of their time being bombarded with this stuff in the places that they frequent, which is TikTok, Instagram. I don't even know if they still use Facebook, but social media. They're bombarded with this stuff. So when they go to play video games, they go to escape, but it's in their video games now, so you can't escape it. So it's like they're constantly being bombarded with this messaging, and I understand now why retro game prices are skyrocketing. It's because most of these kids want to have that exact same feeling that we used to. And it's unfortunate because um a lot of the games coming out are also, I'm not going to say it's unfortunate, but a lot of the games that are coming out now are too expensive too. That's the second thing. Like $70 is, I mean, $60 was insane. But $70 for a game that barely works. It needs an update or a patch day one. Um, Games are not fully on discs now, so you're basically paying for uh, an install key, is what I like to call them. And a lot of the times, what this is going to cause is piracy eventually, where everybody is going to see um, piracy. Like, piracy would be the only way to get my money's worth because everything is so expensive. And I kind of understand where they're coming from, but I think it's probably going to get worse, especially for the AAA gaming space.
That's interesting because I think this week, right, there was a Star Wars game that came out, and like the special
Outlaws.
edition was 130, $140, something like
Well,
that.
there's four different versions of it. There's the base game, which is $80 or $70. Then you have the next version above that, which is 109 or 110 or whatever. And then there's another version that what gives you like a digital notebook, and it's like $150, but it has the same thing as the one before that. And then there's another one that's like 200, I think. I don't know. I didn't really look at it, but a lot of people were upset about that too, because apparently the girl who modeled. I don't think people were really upset about that, but they're like, "Why did you do this?" But the girl who modeled the character in that game is beautiful. But the model that they used is very unattractive. Like they purposely like made her unattractive in the game. And even I'm starting to wonder. I was like, so are these kids right? Like, are they not? They can't be lying because this is like in your face, like it's happening over and over and over.
So I guess the lesson here is that the video game industry just cannot capture the female form in a realistic way. You know, when you go back to like the King of Fighters boob physics days, which were,
Right.
crazy, but then now you're going to these characters that are unattractive. Like, just can we create? I guess can we create just a normal looking woman? I don't
Yeah.
know. I didn't see or at least I wasn't paying attention when I was looking at the stories about that one. But so I can see the point now. So it's a combination of insane prices, faulty products, and a political agenda that you might want to escape from
Yeah.
in your entertainment.
And you can't. And
Um,
and, and they can't. They can't. They literally can't because like put it like this, and this is the best way I can describe it. When we were growing up, we had two places to escape to: um, video games and the mall. And we never used to watch the news, so politics was just nowhere around us. With today, everyone, no matter where you go, the new mall is the internet. The problem
yeah.
is with the internet is you're constantly getting a flood of politics. No matter how much you try to avoid it, you're always going to get it, because there's always someone talking about it. So when you try to go to your favorite video games, um, or your AAA games to play with your friends, there's more of those politics, and it. I understand where they're coming from. That's why there's this weird surge in indie games and retro games. If you look at indie games are on the rise right now. Everyone's playing indie games for some reason. Like what is it? Helldivers 2 is the popular one, and Power World, and then you have a bunch of games that are coming out that look like 16-bit games, but they play like Dark Souls. Like everybody's playing those games now. Like you don't have a lot of people jumping on like a Ubisoft game or a EA game nowadays. They're just too expensive, and a lot of people are very fearful about purchasing those games, especially after that. I haven't played it myself, but I've heard a couple people talk about it. That Justice League game that came out recently. A lot of
Oh
people
yeah, yeah.
was
What
not
was that?
happy about that. I think
Yeah,
that was Rocksteady. I think in WB.
I seem to recall that. Like it was supposed to be maybe like an Arkham City, like in a successor to that franchise, and it just
Well, it
absolutely was horrible.
they turned it into a live service game where you basically upgraded the characters, you purchased things online, and people were not happy about that game. And I think a lot of people didn't like the plot. I guess, which I didn't understand, like because the game is called "Kill the Justice League," so what were they expecting? But a lot of people were very upset about the disrespect that happened to a lot of the heroes in the game. But I mean, I mean, it is what it is. I just hope that for the future, a lot of gamers vote with their wallets instead of just purchasing a game and then being mad about it and then buying the next thing that the same company puts out.
I think you make a great point about video games as an escape. That's why I called myself Game Escape because you're right. Back in the day, of course, I wasn't cool enough to hang out at the mall with anyone. So for me, it was just games, and they were reasonably apolitical, and they were also offline. They were their own self-contained worlds,
Yeah.
and I think that is also an appeal of the retro game. But it was like whatever political agenda they may have had or whatever oversights or omissions to political correctness they had, they corrected it. Like, okay, in Mario, at some point, it wasn't just about saving the princess. You could play as the princess,
Right.
and that's Mario too. Like, okay, there was some progress, I guess, but
Yeah.
that's that was the extent of it. So, yeah, I had never thought of it that way. Like, I didn't think that especially younger audiences would be rebelling against that. And I think it segues nicely into kind of this story that we've seen over the past couple of weeks of the Xbox 360 price explosion, because that is probably the console, like the last console with I don't know what we want to call it, you know a pre-woke political perspective.
Hmm.
And do you think that's playing into it, or is it just that they're shutting down the Xbox 360 store and games are going to be hard to find?
Um. Well, I did take a look just to see what was going on. Um. I did see there is somewhat of a spike in Xbox 360 games, but I think that it is I think it is momentary. How do I say this? I don't think that the prices are going to stay high for long. And the reason why I say that is because I don't really see um I don't see the Xbox 360 as a very collectible console. Um that's just my bias on it. But I, I I do think that them closing down the store did play into the prices going up. But the problem that I have is that although the games on the Xbox 360 they play better on the 360 than they do on the PlayStation 3. The problem is that there's too many games that came out on the 360 on the PlayStation 3. That's why I don't really feel it's very collectible. I just feel like it's very easy to collect for. Um, I think that there are now are there certain games on the console that I think will spike and be a bit. I don't think they're gonna be like $80 or like 100, like $500. I don't think they're gonna be like that. I think there's probably maybe one or two games, maybe. Um, but I don't. I just don't see. I just don't see it. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like looking at my collection, and I have one game that post spike has gone over $100, and that's Operation Darkness. It was like
Yeah, I
an
have that.
Atlas.
I
Yeah.
have that too. That,
Um,
and that's the only game that I'm thinking about in my head is Operation Darkness, and maybe I don't know. You can probably check it. Is probably Blue Dragon because Akira Toriyama died,
yes,
and
that has gone up pretty significantly. That was dirt cheap,
yeah, that used to be like
and
$8. No one cared about that game.
yeah, now I'm seeing it at like 57
Oh,
complete in
that
box.
okay. That's not bad. I just
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about the Xbox 360, but I just feel like the Xbox 360's library is so vastly triple. Like I'm not gonna say triple A. What's the word? Multiplat. Every game is so multiplat. You can if you can't find it on the Xbox 360, you can just find it on the PlayStation 3. It doesn't matter. Um, but I just don't see it as a console to collect. You know, like I still have all of my Xbox games that I had when I was collecting. But there's only a handful of games that I actually think are going to be expensive. Operation Darkness is one of them for sure. Maybe Lost Odyssey is
That has
another.
gone up. I mean, that was also pretty cheap for a long time. In
Yeah, that
fact,
was
I did a video. I was like, "Why is this game so cheap? This is a very good game."
because it's on the Xbox 360. That's why it's so cheap.
Yeah.
And
Well,
but that game
now
is
it's
amazing.
doubled.
How much
Yeah,
is it
now
now?
it's like 34, but it used to be you could get
Oh
it for 10
wow.
bucks
So
or
yeah,
maybe not, 15 bucks, something like that.
I think the three games to probably look for is probably what's Cold Saga maybe
Yep.
uh Lost Odyssey what's the one Operation Darkness a From Software game called Ninja Blade that I would say that one and maybe what's another one Eternal Sonata that'd probably be another one.
Yeah.
I'll,
Um,
I'll give those maybe those yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing like my other two like games that are in the $80 range are the Japanese cave shmups that had got
Oh
a
well,
physical release.
those are always going to be expensive. Like
Yeah.
Dodonpachi Side Ojo, like that one's $150.
Yeah.
We're not going to count that because those are imports. I see what you're
Ah,
doing.
well, and, and
Maybe Death Smiles with the faceplate. Maybe
so I've got that, and that is now up to 77.
That's a $77 game.
Yes,
Oh
new.
my oh my god. I all right. You know what's funny is I have Operation Darkness brand new. It's still sealed.
Oh, that is sweet. What is that, dude? That's got to be just 130.
$130 for that? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, if people are interested, Pete Dorr did 2 videos on it, and then, like, in the
He
suggested
did.
feed,
He did.
I got, like, other people who were talking about it, and he listed some ones that were really expensive that elude me at the moment, like some sports games that you wouldn't think about.
Yeah, I
Um,
wouldn't care about sports games at all.
yeah, Cold Sept Saga is, I think he was saying it's, like, in the 200 range now.
Cold Step Saga is wow. All right.
Yeah, and I was like, I saw that a couple months ago for 80, and I'm like,
Should you?
do I
Yeah,
pick it up? Didn't, but
yeah.
yeah, I don't think the Xbox 360 is as like I actually hooked mine up and plugged it into the RetroTink 4K,
Hmm.
and it was surprisingly pleasant.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
The
I
Xbox
maybe it's just
360 was
because
it's a fun console.
Yeah, like, I don't know if it's just the retro tink cleaning it up a little bit beyond what
Mhm.
I remember, but, I had some fun with it. I was playing, Dead or Alive. Dead
Oh,
or Alive 5, and, yeah, that game was not as far as, the memo didn't reach that dev team about ugly women. That game was very much in the '90s, mindset when it came to that. But, yeah, I was playing that, and I was playing the Capcom versus Tekken, which
Capcom versus
or Street
Tekken.
Fighter
Oh,
versus
Street vs
Tekken.
Tekken. Oh,
Yeah,
Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Right. Yeah, I remember
yeah,
that.
and that I remember not being crazy about that because I think I got it on the computer initially when it came out, and it had, like, games for Windows Live, and it just had a lot of problems and didn't run
Yeah.
very well, like, on a newer computer that I got.
Mhm.
But rediscovering it, it's, underrated. I actually enjoyed it. So, alright, so we got a couple topics here that I
Yeah.
think are interesting. Jay, you alluded to this, earlier on in the episode, and that is double dipping. We were talking about this week,
Oh,
double
yes.
dipping,
Yes, yes.
and you were like, "Okay, well, what are the top 5 games that you've double dipped on?" And I suspect that you're going to have the more interesting list. So I'm gonna go through a couple, and then
Okay.
you give me your list because I think it's gonna be crazier. So I recently, like, it just came today. I
Okay.
did double dip on the Game Center CX replay
Yeah,
because,
I
like we
knew
were
you were
saying
gonna
last time, I can't
yes.
open the VHS box,
Right. Nope. No.
so I got it used.
Okay. Okay. Wait, how
And
much
I
was the
want
used copy?
it was like $38.
Oh, okay. Did you get it from our secret store?
I did.
I knew you did.
I got $38 shipped.
Nice, very nice.
Soon as it went
That's a
up
steal.
there, I'm like, I'm doing it. And apparently even like I'm getting so many secret store boxes that our mailman is like questioning my wife.
Uh-oh.
Uh it's like what is this stuff that's always coming to your house? And she didn't actually know, thankfully. So she was like, "Oh, I think my husband likes to order tea from Japan." And the mailman was like, and he pays to import it? And he's like, "Well, he's very particular about his tea." Now that is true. I do import green tea
That's good.
from
That's
Japan because
good.
I drink it every day at work because it's like my coffee, it's like not too much
Mm.
caffeine, but just enough.
Is it matcha or sencha? Which one is it?
It's, just like,
Just
sencha, just
okay. Yeah,
loose
yeah,
leaf
yeah.
sencha,
Yeah, I do the
and, I got
same.
the boiler at work, and that's just what I drink all day.
Same,
But
same.
yeah, but the problem is that the tea box comes twice a year,
Okay.
and the secret store box comes
Multiple times
with
a year.
alarming frequency. So yeah, so that was one of them, and then I had, I remember when Yakuza 5 came out,
Mhm.
there was a lot of talk online that, "Listen, this is never going to get localized because it is so massive, there's so much to translate, and the story is even more Japanese than the others. Like, no one's gonna be interested in this."
Mhm.
And, like, it was the one where you actually played as his, orphanage adopted daughter who becomes an idol, and instead of fighting like people on the street, you have dance-offs with the criminals. You play an extended section where, Kiryu's like a cab driver, and it, like, really goes into life at the cab company. So it was a little dry, a little slow paced. So I bought it, imported it, and I tried so hard to work my way through it.
Wow.
And it was dense. It was dense, and I think I got through the first Kiryu portion, and I was like, I just don't have the time to fight through this language barrier. And then it was released a couple of years later, exclusive to the PlayStation Network. So there was never a English language release, but I got it on the PSN. played it, beat it, and I also have it. They did like a Yakuza 3 through 5 remaster.
Oh, nice,
So
nice.
I have it on the PS4 and the PC. So that's what, quadruple dipping.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
but
about
I've only played through it once.
that's quad dip.
I do want to get back to it. I remember when Persona 5 came out. I got it on the PS4, love that game, but I also got it on the PS3 because I figured, hey, this is gonna be one of the last PS3 releases. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna keep it sealed. Till this day, absolutely worthless,
Yeah.
which is a shame.
I think once Royale came out, it just plummeted the PS3 version in price.
Yeah, but I love the game, so I'm still happy to have it in
Yeah.
a weird way. Uh, Dodon Pachi, Blissful Reincarnation, only because you convinced me to get the limited edition,
Yes, yes.
and then I forgot that I had ordered the regular edition.
So you double
Which,
dipped by
yeah,
accident.
so it was like actually a nice coincidence because I didn't have to open that really nice limited edition.
Mm,
Um, I talk about like one of my things now is, I get the game on the Switch and then I buy the game on Steam on a Steam sale. But perhaps the most depressing double dip of my life, and I don't know, this shows the psychosis that I have, is I am a fan of the New York Jets, which,
okay.
if you don't know football, they are the worst, most disgusting
Mhm.
loser franchise in football and possibly in all of global sports. But anyway,
Still love
when
them.
they signed Brett Favre,
Mhm.
they this was 2009. He was on the cover of Madden. And so the Madden game was, released with him in his Green Bay Packer uniform. So I bought 2 Maddens at full price because in some strange way I convinced myself when the Jets win the Super Bowl with Brett Favre, this unopened game is going to be historic. So I wasted $120 on Madden '09, which is a horrible Madden, and they're all horrible these days. But that one was particularly bad. And for
That is
those football fans, the Jets started 8-3. They ended 8-8. They missed the playoffs. Brett Favre exposed himself to somebody in the Jets locker room. He was shipped off, and that was the end.
oh man. I don't know how I'm gonna beat your level of storytelling.
Yeah, so those are my double dips. Now they're not necessarily like crazy expensive double dips, and I sense that you've got some expensive double dips.
I have some expensive double dips. I'm just gonna get this one out the way because I think it's the craziest one. Um, and it's when Shin Megami Tensei 5 first came out. I pre-ordered the Japanese limited edition and simultaneously pre-ordered the limited edition of the US release. So I have them both. And they're both still sealed because I dipped again on a US release of the standard edition and then dipped a fourth time for the steelbook edition. So I quad dipped for Shin Megami Tensei 5, a Shin Megami Tensei that I don't even enjoy all that much. I'm not gonna say the game is bad. I just don't enjoy it as much as I really wanted to. But I did quad dip on that game because I mean my channel is called Shin Megami Talks. I mean I have to, go crazy. Um but yeah, that I there is a part of me inside that kind of regrets that. But I do digress. Uh number 4 is a game that a lot of people don't know exists, and if they do know it exists, they didn't enjoy it, but I thought it was fantastic, and I think it's going to be a very difficult game to find in the future. And it's a game called Astria Ascending. It's a Japanese JRPG made by the original creators that did. It's a group of people. They did Valkyrie Profile, and what was that other game? Fire Emblem. They worked on some games for that. So they just all banded together and made their own RPG. I bought this game on Amazon for $27 because no one cared, and I thought the game was so good I wanted to support them, so I bought it a second time, but I imported a limited edition that we never got, uh, and I kept it sealed. The limited edition, if you pop it in your Switch, it plays in English, so that's a plus. And that's great. That's a double dip that I did there. My third double dip that I will have to say would probably be Death Smiles. I originally bought Death Smiles on the PlayStation, no, not PlayStation, the Xbox 360. I got the limited edition with the faceplate. I that's not sealed. I opened that because I enjoy that game. And a couple of years later, I bought it again, a Japanese import, the Death Smiles. What do you call it? What did they call it? Like the platinum? It's like greatest hits or whatever you want to call it. I bought that, and then I bought it again on Steam because why not have uh well, are we counting digital? Are we gonna count digital?
I was counting digital.
Yeah, okay. So I bought it on Steam, and then I bought it again because it came out for Switch in a nice bundle limited edition. So I bought that game four times. Separate times. I didn't double dip, I guess, per se, but I did buy the game. It's the same game as the Xbox version, but you're just buying it again for Switch. I bought the limited edition box set because it came in a nice, pretty box. Some people might say I'm crazy, but the box is so pretty. I had to buy it. Next is a game that's really dear to my heart. It's I bought a game called Stranger in Sword City. It came out on the PlayStation Vita. It's a first-person dungeon crawler. You basically just gear up your party and you go through dungeons and fight hard monsters. I bought this game on the Switch. I bought it on the PlayStation Vita, and I bought it on Steam. I triple dipped for that. Um, I bought the Switch version twice. Not the Switch version. The PS Vita version twice because I liked the limited edition box so much that I opened one and I bought another one just to keep it sealed because it's pretty.
Wow.
And for my last one, and this is where my unique storytelling of craziness and Frankensteining game, I call it Frankensteining games, comes in. It's for Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana on the PlayStation 4. Originally, I bought this game from a friend. He didn't want it because I couldn't find the game anywhere. So I bought the PS4 version, and I love the game so much that I was like, I need the Switch version. I don't know how I'm going to get this game, but I need it. The game was somewhere on eBay close to $100 plus because the Switch version was just the more sought after version. Like an idiot, I did not buy it, but a couple of years later, NIS was like, we're going to reprint games. What games do you want to reprint? And I was like, Lacrimosa of Dana, please, for one. I bought it for the Switch. Then I got really, really upset with myself that there was a limited edition for this game and I didn't have it. So what I did was I went on NIS of America's website. I saw that they were selling the limited edition with the PS5 game in it. Now, this is the thing. The limited edition, they didn't change anything about the box. It looked the exact same as the PS4 version and as the Switch version. So I took my $100 and I bought a PS5 version of that box, took the PS5 game out, sold that, and then put my Switch version in the box that I just bought. So now I triple dipped for Lacrimosa of Dana Ys 8, and that is my number one.
That is crazy. That is a great game. I mean, that is so I can see the allure, but that
It,
is wow.
yeah, that I think I became Lacrimosa of Dana. I think was the game that made me an Ys fan. I played others before it, but I think that game was done so well from its storytelling to its visuals and its music that I just fell so in love with the game. And the thing is that I think one of the things that really drew me to Lacrimosa of Dana was the I forgot I forgot what you call them, but what's the menu screen where you can see all the characters and you see their health bars and all that stuff? It kind of gives me that classic old school PS1 JRPG look, and that was just nostalgic to me. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy multiple copies of this game because I'm a moron. So I want it.
Well, I think, we talked a couple episodes ago how Ease always felt like crisp, engaging, fun, and joyous in a way that very few RPGs do.
Hmm.
And I think the Ease 8, the Lacrimosa of Dana game was really the quintessential of the 3D games. Like, I don't think that, the other ones are okay, like Monstrum Nox, and I haven't played
Yeah,
Nordics.
Nordics
Uh,
comes out at I think at the end of this year. We're
oh,
getting a
okay.
US release. Yeah.
Um, Even the Ease before it, what was that?
Also,
Celceta,
yeah, Ultim
which, like,
Felgana. Yeah.
yeah, these are not bad games. These are very good games, but there was
Hmm.
something about Lacrimosa of Dana that was just special.
Yeah. I try to tell my friends this all the time, but they don't believe me. But personally, I felt like Lacrimosa of Dana was a masterpiece. Like I couldn't find anything wrong or anything that I didn't like about that game. It was just it was just for me, it was perfect. Um I remember when I played Monstrum Nox, although I liked Monstrum Nox and I beat it to its completion, um it still could not live up to Lacrimosa of Dana. It's just perfect.
I had the feeling with it that if you had sat me down as like a 10-year-old kid and said, "Hey, design a JRPG,"
Mhm.
I would have come up with something similar to that. Like it was a natural extension of, I think, the kind of games we grew up with.
Yeah.
At least that's how I felt. Like, it was
Mhm.
beautiful. It had a silky smooth frame rate. It was thoroughly modern, but it had an aesthetic and, again, that sense of fun that would have been right at home in the 16-bit or 32-bit era.
Yeah. And you know what's weird? I will never forget is there's something about that island in Lacrimosa of Dana. It like you want to explore it. You want to run around in its world. Where I remember when I played Monstrum Nox, like I would explore the city of what was it, Goldbad, I think it was called. Like, but
Yeah.
I would just kind of get bored with exploring it, and I'm like, I kind of just want to get to the next point of the story so I can finish the game. But with Lacrimosa of Dawn, I never had that at all.
Yeah, so if listeners have not played it, like, I think this is one, like, we talk about a lot of games, and we have fun with a lot of games, but I would put this in the pantheon of ones that are really, really special.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is probably like I think we talk about Lacrimosa of Dawn every episode.
Yeah, we've had a lot of ease talk. We've definitely had a lot a lot of
Yeah.
ease talk. So, actually, I should point this out before we move to the next segment. You had the great idea of, like, listeners should ask us questions,
Hmm.
and
Yep.
so we put that on the Discord. The link to the Discords and every sort of show notes that we put on these podcasts. But we didn't get any questions this week. But you had an interesting question. I think it connects nicely, and that is, okay, we had the top 5 games we double dipped on, but what are the top 5 games that we've left sealed?
Oh yeah,
And
I did say that. I
and
forgot.
yeah, and I'll add to that, like, what are the reasons why we left them sealed? Because I think there's always, there's always different reasons. It's
Yeah.
that you ran out of time, or you were
Mhm.
deliberately speculating, or I guess in your case, you've quadruple dipped, and
Well,
so you have,
there are some games where um I just kept sealed because I didn't I, okay, so for one that pops into my head right now is I have a sealed copy of Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Raito Kuzunowa number 2.
oh,
I
me too.
I oh, do you have okay, I have that sealed. I was
The one with the
planning.
doll.
Yes, the one with the
Yes, that was
plushie.
one that was on my list.
Yeah, I have that. The only reason why I have it sealed is because I was gonna play it, but then I forgot that I digitally have it on my PlayStation 3. And I still have it on my PlayStation 3. And I'm just like, well, I can just play this version. I don't have to open this. That's
That is
that.
so weird because that's the same way I am with actually both of the Devil Summoner games. Now, I didn't forget that I had them. I bought them, and I especially the number 2, like, the special edition, just because I thought, like, the Jack Frost doll was just a neat thing to have. So it was a
Yeah.
bit of speculation, but then I did get them digitally later on, and I
Mhm.
played I haven't beat them or, I only played I think maybe halfway through the first one, but
Okay.
I'm like, now that I have them digitally, these games are never gonna be opened.
Yep. Yep.
So that's interesting. The one of mine is, and I think we talked about it on one of our maybe our first episode, second episode was the Godzilla for the PlayStation 4.
Oh, right. I forgot you had that.
Yeah, and I remember like it had something to do with Pete Dora's podcast. I either bought it on Amazon because it was cheap, and then he was streaming it or something, and he was like, "Oh, this is probably going to be rare one day," and I decided, well, you know what? I'm not a huge Godzilla fan anyway, and I bought it just because it was like 20 bucks on Amazon. So I'm going to leave it in the closet. And yeah, it's now 300 bucks. So that was pure speculation on my point.
Wow. That was good speculation though. It was really good. Very good speculating. I'm trying to
What
think
about,
what's another one that I have, and like I think the other one that I have is it's a what do you call it? It's an import. It's kind of like a it's called Little Witch Nobito. It's like a third person shooter where you play as like a little girl witch that she shoots different beams from her wand. Um I was a part of the beta on Steam for that game, and I loved the game so much that I was like, if you come out with this game, I'm buying it. And eventually, they came out with the limited edition. I'm talking about the box is huge; it's ginormous. And I opened up the box, but then I looked in the game, and I was like, I don't want to open this because I feel like it'll just ruin like the whole allure of the whole box. It's bad enough I opened the box, but I mean, you've seen my game room. I always open up limited editions and then I put them back in cellophane wrapping like they do in those Japanese stores because I just like that feel for my room. So, um, yeah, that's another game that I didn't open because, but I didn't open that just because it looked pretty. I know I'm crazy. I'm crazy. I know, because a lot of people who are listening to this like these guys are nuts.
yeah, well, I mean, I think if they've listened to previous episodes, they may have gotten that sense from us. But yeah, it's funny. I'm looking at some of these here, and one game that pops to mind is the Stella Glow limited edition.
Oh my god, you did not open that?
I did not open that, and the reason why was that this was a gift from a former girlfriend, and it might have been like one of the last things she got me. And so after we broke up, I was kind of like, there's just something about this game, you're kind of depressed and you just kind of put it like, or at least I did, in the back of the collection, and I just forgot about it.
I think you
And
should sell it to me.
well, and then I looked at like, the price and where the price has gone, and I'm like, you know what? Hey,
How
bad
much is it
feelings
now?
aside,
How much is it now?
it's it's creeping up towards 200.
I changed my mind. I do not want to buy it.
So I'll
Sell it, bro.
yeah, so that's a good one. Like,
Yeah,
sometimes you
that's
just
really
have
good.
emotional blocks and you can't open something.
That's one I'm definitely missing from my 3DS. I always wanted to play it, but I never got a chance to get my hands on that one.
Now, do you
Um
have ones that like you just, for whatever reason, like uh you really intended to open it but never got around to it?
um yes and no. and it's Pandora's Tower for the Wii.
Yep.
Um, I I remember the day I actually bought that. My now wife, when we were dating, I will never forget this. I remember seeing the cover to Pandora's Tower, and I remember just looking at the cover on like I don't remember where I saw it. I saw it on the internet somewhere. It was probably like GameTrailers.com or something, or GameFAQs. And I remember looking at the cover, and I just looking at the cover, I said, "This game is going to be hard to find. I need this game." And there was a GameStop. There was only one GameStop within 100-mile radius of me that had it. And I asked my girlfriend, well, my wife, who was my girlfriend then, I asked her, "Hey, can you give me $20 so I can go buy this game from GameStop really quick?" She's like, "Yeah, sure, but why?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just get this weird feeling that I should probably just buy this game for some reason." And I go to the GameStop, and I was expecting the game to be used, but when I went, it was brand new for $20. So when
Wow.
I purchased it, I was like, I'm gonna go home and open this and play it, and then I just forgot that I bought it, and it's been sitting there, and I don't even know how much does that game run now? Pandora's
Let's
Tower.
see. It's pretty. I think it's during
Correct.
the pandemic. I think it really jumped, but I'm not sure where it
I,
is
it should
now.
it should have went down because I think a lot of Wii games went down.
Yeah, so it is according to this app is the $76.
Oh, okay. So it went down. It used to be $100, I think. But
Yes.
I remember that there was something about that game that I was just like, this game is gonna be a gem. Just looking at it, I should just grab it. But I just forgot.
Yeah, I
So,
was that's actually one that was on my list too is because right, it was Xenoblade and then Last Story in
Xenoblade,
Pandora's
Last Story,
Tower.
yeah, and Pandora. They were called the Operation Rainfall games.
Yeah, and I couldn't get the Xenoblade sealed, which
Mm.
really irritated me because I got it off of I don't know. I don't know where I got it. Probably eBay. But then Last Story in Pandora's Tower I got brand new, and I got it into my mind that, you know what? I'm going to play these games like one summer. I'm going to play them all through. And this was a time when I wasn't dating and I had a lot of time on my hands. And I started playing the first one and I'm like, "You know what? I don't care for this." There was just something about it, like it felt like an MMO and it
Yeah,
just didn't hit me the right way at the time.
yeah.
So because I didn't get through that one, the other 2 stayed sealed.
Okay.
Now
Mm.
you've played all of them? Like, do you really need to play them in order?
No, from what I've heard, you don't need to play them in order because they're all different stories. I think the first one and the second one are kind of like games you have to play in order, but after that, you don't have to. But I don't know because I've only played, even though I have Xenoblade Chronicles, I've only played X. That's the one on the Wii U. That's the only one I played. I don't know. I, I think I enjoyed that game. I remember spending more than 30 hours on that game, and I don't know. I just I don't remember. I
I
should
remember
probably.
it having a great sense of scale,
Yes, yes, it
and
did.
that's the only takeaway that I had from it. I don't know, I'm not a fan of the, like, I don't know what you wanna call it, like, the action but timed battle system, so, like, you can
Yeah.
you have those action points and you can move freely, but you're still somehow constrained. It's like I want it either to be like the modern Final Fantasy releases,
Right.
where it's just yeah, okay, I can do summons, I can do spells, but I have complete control at all times of my character, or I want it to be turn based.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
that,
I get that because I'm not gonna lie. The first time I played it, it felt weird to me as well.
but yeah, the scale, the cities were awesome. I love that.
Oh yeah, exploring the island felt hazardous too. Like you didn't know if you could take on the monsters in certain areas, and
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
Well, I got one last one for you, and this was pure cynical greed that I left this one sealed.
I'll give you
And
one greedy one of mine as well.
for me, it was Pokemon Conquest.
Okay,
So,
I can
you
see that.
know, this game, first of all, this was I hadn't even played a Pokemon game at this point. So to me, it was like, oh, Pokemon, like Nobunaga's Ambition. What a mashup. We'll never see this kind of mashup again. And I had an aversion to Pokemon and no experience with the other series. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep this sealed and this is going to be worth money.
Mm.
And today it is, according to Game Eye, new 191. So I think, and I got it for like $30 or something like that. So that was a good one. And in the interim, like I discovered what Pokemon was and I find it to be quite relaxing. And now I feel like, oh, this might be an interesting game to play. So I do kind of want to play it, but I will not open it at this point. What about
Um,
you?
for me, the greediest I've ever been with a sealed game. I purchased a game. It's the very last official game printed for the 3DS, and it's a game called Fragrant Story. It's
Oh, I did buy that too.
Yeah, I bought the limited edition and I was so this is just pure greed. I know it's greed because I didn't even take it out of its shipping box because the shipping box has a special sticker on it with, the developer's, signature on it or whatever. So I was like, I'm going to keep the shipping box and all of this, sealed on here. So it's still in there and it still smells like fragrances when you open up the box. So there you go.
That's
That
interesting because that one, according to this, I don't think I got like the shipping box version with the fragrance. I just got like it's just in like one of those Japanese bags, but it's sealed inside the bag.
Oh, you got that. See, I got a black box with a seal on it. It's like not a seal. It has like a sticker on it with the developer's name,
Oh,
and then it
maybe
has like all these little 8-bit characters on it.
I gotta
And
look. Maybe I do have that.
yeah, when you open up the box, if you open up the box, it smells like potpourri. I can't. It's so weird. I love it, but I've never opened it.
Well,
I wonder how much that goes for now. That's
apparently it's only $40.
fragrant store. No, the limited edition.
Well, let's see. I gotta maybe I current story. There's the boxed digital bundle.
Mm.
There's the collector's edition.
Yeah. Well, how much is that one?
It's between 100 and 175.
Okay.
And then
I
there's
did. I did
the
not pay that price.
Papaya's Path
That's weird.
edition, which is like $50.
No, I don't have that one. I have the one in the giant box. That's all black, and it looks like the Final Fantasy artist did all the artwork on it.
Yeah, I've got to look through because I do usually save those shipping boxes. Like there was one that I got from like Summon Nights 5.
Wow, you got a Summon Night limited edition.
Yeah, when they released it for the was it the PSP?
I think we're
No.
gonna. I think we're gonna have to do a collector's reveal video. Like we're gonna have to tag team a video one day.
I think so, but like I don't really have that many limited editions. Like I've got a couple, but I've always been a regular edition buyer. Like I could not compete with you. Like I'd give you my 5 or 6 and then, you would just run away with
I just have
I
this
mean,
weird fixation with cool looking boxes.
yeah,
I
I mean
don't know.
you could actually build a house with
Yeah,
limited editions.
I'm gonna
Like
try that.
the Minecraft of limited editions.
Oh man.
Um Well, it's funny. So I've got a topic that I've always wanted to ask you. I think it would be useful for people to hear, and that is, I did a video a number of years ago that I was like, "Hey, I wonder which console to collect for, Switch or PS4." And I
Hmm.
felt like it was up in the air back then because I was like, "Well, PS4 is cheaper and better." a lot of the games that are
Right.
cross-platform.
Right.
But yet the Switch has, I think, clearly won out.
Hmm.
So we do a lot of Switch talk, but we've never actually stated like, well, why is the Switch the preferred collector's console over, say, the PS4?
And in all honesty, it didn't start off that way. Um, I don't think it started off that way for a lot of collectors. I think a lot of collectors saw the PS4 as the collectible console. I know I sure did, but um, I know for me, I can't speak for anyone else. I think I'm not gonna say I think. I know when it shifted. And it shifted for me when there was a lot of talk about the CMOS battery. Do you remember that? Do you-
Vaguely, like
So,
that the
so
PlayStation was going to explode or something,
well,
or
well, they called it the C bomb, but it wasn't going to explode. But so the PlayStation 4 has what is called a CMOS battery in it, and what people discovered is if you take out the battery in the PlayStation 4, it basically it kind of bricks your console. It doesn't stop your console from turning on, but you can't play games that are downloaded on your console, and it doesn't play physical games anymore if the battery dies. Um, the battery has like a 10-year lifespan apparently, or whatever. But I remember when all of the talks came out and people were doing tests with the CMOS battery. Um, I remember they said that they patched it. And I remember thinking to myself that, well, a patch is just a temporary band-aid. That doesn't mean that the problem is, like there's nothing fixed, within the system itself. It's just a patch. It's just a band-aid. Um, I saw that as a huge flaw. And one of the things why I started collecting mostly for the Switch because before I was primarily collecting for the PlayStation 4. I didn't have a Switch. The CMOS battery is what made me jump ship. Um, I said, all right, I'm gonna get a Switch. What I'm going to attempt to do is I'm going to sell my PS4 collection and I'm going to rebuy everything that I sold on the Switch. And that's how I started my Switch journey. Now the thing was is that I was really smart too at the time. I kept all the games I knew I could not find on the PS4. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to find everything, so I kept the rare stuff on the PS4 that I decided I was going to keep, and then rebuy everything on the Switch. Um, I think, in my opinion, that games being on that little card, that proprietary card that the Switch has, it feels like a cartridge. It feels like it's going to last longer than a disc would. It feels like you're getting a full game. Do I know that's what it is for sure? Not really, no. But that's what it feels like. It just feels more secure to me. And I think that a lot of people probably have the same notions is that the cartridge feels more secure than a game disc because a lot of the times nowadays, I think when you put in a game in your PS4 or your PS5, I think it installs now, right?
yes,
Is that
definitely.
what it has to install and then it has to download stuff. With the Switch, I actually started doing this. So whenever I buy a new Switch game and I put it into my Switch, whenever it doesn't have an automatic update, I take a sticky, like a colorful sticky, I don't know, like a sticky label, and I wrap it around the spine. So it always tells me that this game never needed an update. So I label all my games like that.
That is
Um,
fascinating.
I don't know if anybody else does that, but I do that. Like
There
I recently.
there's a girl on YouTube, and I forget her, screen name. It's like Orbology or
Mhm.
Orbalology, something like that, and she has been talking about that, like, which games are absolutely complete, and she includes that, like, in her reviews, and also, like, variants of each one. Like, I guess, if they update the little card across the print run, she'll
Ah,
say, like, if it has this serial number, then it's complete, or then it has this extra DLC. And so she'll find, like, even on ones that are quote unquote complete, she'll find the most complete version.
oh,
So
I have to check this out because.
yeah, I mean, it's not like the essence of her channel, like, she just more of like an kind of an interesting collecting channel, but she's got a big Switch collection, and she does talk about that, and I'm like, "Oh, that's something I should have thought of," and obviously, hey, you've done it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to my nearest Walgreens and bought like colorful sticky labels. And whenever I pop, like I recently like what's it called? Slave Zero X, when I popped it in, it didn't need an update. It worked right away. So I put a little sticky note, not a sticky note, but a sticky label right on the spine so that,
Ha
you know.
have you encountered games where it initially didn't need an update, but then an update came? Or is
Yeah.
not needing an update like, "Okay, this is finished and you'll never have to worry about it"?
Yeah. I'm trying I don't remember what games they are, but that has happened on like two different occasions. Like I think actually no, you know what game I think it is? I think it was Streets of Rage 4. Cause because when I first bought that game it didn't need one. But I think they started fixing certain things. Like um and you know what? Now that I think about it, I was playing it the other day and there was a combo that Adam could do. But I noticed when I try to pull it off, it doesn't allow you to do that anymore. So yeah, definitely. That game didn't have an update before, but now it probably did.
When an update downloads, is it saved on the card or on the system?
That's a good question. I would assume it's saved on the system, not the card.
Okay, so it's not like you're actually completing the game by downloading it.
Yeah, I don't think it updates the card.
Interesting.
But that's just me. I don't know. But I don't know what do you think? Cuz me personally, when I buy Switch games, it's because I feel like they're more complete than actual disc is now. Because remember that whole debacle too with I think it was a Capcom game where people were discovering that the whole data wasn't on the disc, and
Yeah, what game was that? I
I'm,
can't I recall that.
I think it was was it Marvel versus Capcom 3 maybe, or Street Fighter 4? It was one of those. But people were discovering that the whole game wasn't on a disc and it was playing from the down, like when it installed it was really downloading something onto the console. So it's like
Y
your disc was more or less a key than the actual game.
Yeah, and it's been that way, from the PlayStation 4 days till now. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think you summarize it, like, I wasn't connecting the CMOS battery issue to, like, "Oh, wow, I should stop collecting for the PS4 and start, buying for the Switch." I mean, I remember that happening.
Hmm.
It wasn't necessarily the tipping point for me, but I understand how it absolutely could have been for a lot of people. All things being equal, I would actually prefer a lot of the Switch library on the PS4 because it'll run better.
Yeah.
But I guess for me, it was just seeing, like, the community of releases, if you want to call it that, that just the
Hmm.
releases started getting more and more interesting for the Switch as the PS4 got older. And I don't know, I think the PS4 faded.
Yeah,
Now, the
for sure.
PS5, like, I will admit, it's a nice experience playing PS4 games on the PS5. I'm not sure if there's 100% compatibility, but hey, basically, pop in the game. You got to plug in like a external hard drive, and if you get one of those NVMe external hard drives,
Hmm.
an extra terabyte, put the games on there. Load times are completely diminished. It looks great, sounds great. So that's not a bad option. But I don't know. I just, at some point, it was clear to me that the hobby was moving towards the Switch, and I guess, went with that. And I think you're right. It does feel those little cartridges feels nostalgic.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and the cases of the games look different enough to the point where they feel more collectible too. Because Xbox and PlayStation 3 they kind of share the same case volume, I guess, or
Yeah.
size. It's kind of like the same, but with Switch games, it just feels different. It feels more collectible, I guess. But man, bring back jewel cases.
No, you know what? That could stay in the past. You know how many cracked jewel cases
Bring back
I
jewel
have?
cases. I like jewel case. Do you remember the days when having what was it? RPGs that have, what was it? The double disc
Double
uh
disc.
the double disc case. But the thing is that sometimes you'll buy a game, it'll have double disc case, but there's just one disc in it. It's because those double discs are so popular, like the cases. Like
Yep.
I remember I bought years ago, what was it? When I was a kid, Siphon Filter 2. It came in a dual disc, but there was only one disc in it. And I was like, why?
I mean, I've got some Saturn imports that have like 2 manuals, 3 discs.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
I've got one that has like I don't even know what it is, like a little GameCube sized disc, a mini disc, with game audio on it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing what you can stuff into a double disc case.
Yeah. Man,
But
I don't know. I'm a sucker for jewel cases. I like jewel cases because I like PlayStation 1 and Dreamcast. It's my favorite two consoles. So
well, I mean, they always reminded me like that they felt very futuristic because I remember when my parents got their first CD player
mhm.
and that felt, oh man, this is so like modern, our family is coming to the future. And when my games started coming in the same kind of cases that my parents' CDs came in, but my CDs could do a lot more visually and were more interesting,
Right.
that just made me feel good.
Yeah.
Strange, the way your younger mind works.
For sure.
But I still feel that way. Like when I crack open a Saturn game, it's just like, oh yeah, this magical disc that can do so much more than my Rod Stewart music disc or something like that. But I say we bring back the Neo Geo AES cases. You remember those?
Oh man,
Have you seen?
those
Yeah, those
giant clamshell.
massive
Yeah,
clamshells where you
I
could
remember
like
that.
stuff a handgun into it and
Oh
still
my
have space
god,
for the disc.
those lunch boxes. I'm gonna call them lunch boxes. Those things are
Yeah,
big. But they look cool though.
they did.
Even when you watch like videos of, people shopping in Akihabara and they'll go to like those large Neo Geo cases, and I'm just like, man, those things look great. They look so good, man.
Well, you felt like you were getting. I mean, I never encountered a Neo Geo system in the wild. Back in the
I've,
day when those things were $700 and the games were a couple hundred each. Like I just didn't know anyone who had them, but over the years I have seen them like at a convention or in a store, stuff like that, and they are cool. But another good case, I don't know if you would agree with me on this, is the Vita.
yeah, Vita has some good
Those
cases.
unique, like that
The
little
little
size,
yeah.
I enjoy that form factor.
Yeah, Vita had some good cases. I just wish that they utilized that section for the manuals. Because I would love to have seen manuals printed for those little
Hmm.
cases. But I only have one game with a manual for the Vita, and it's a game called Volume. And it was a limited
Volume,
run.
okay.
Yeah, it's a limited run game, but it really, man, those Vita cases were awesome. I
What
agree.
is what is the worst case in your opinion? Because I've got one that comes
Um,
to mind.
the worst case, I would have said those Sega Genesis clamshells, but those are good too. Um,
Those are durable. I mean,
yeah, those were Don't you can throw that thing.
yeah.
um, Personally, I think uh, hmm, I'm gonna have to go with, to be honest with you, PS4. I think those things are like the most flimsy cases I ever had. Like sometimes I'll ship something and the disc is rattling around inside. Or
Wow.
you'll buy something and you'll get the game and then it's just you just pick up the game and it's rattling inside of the case. I think those are the most flimsy cases I've ever seen in a game.
You
Like at
do have a
least,
point.
uh, and I would almost say I would go with long boxes for
Yep.
like Sega Saturn or PlayStation 1. PlayStation 1 early PlayStation 1. And Sega
See, that
Saturn.
that was gonna be mine. It was the
Yeah.
long box. See, for me, it was the Sega CD. Like, that started the long box that
Yeah.
would they'd always break, they'd come unhinged, and I think
Those
those are
those little threads
yeah.
that hold the disc in place, they would always break.
Yep.
So so your disc would just rattle around inside. The same thing happens to PS4. I hate it.
And then you'd have to get you remember like, the foam insert that would try to hold
Yeah.
it in place?
Hold it in place, yeah. See, but I like that. I like that stuff. Not that case, but the stuff inside. Like you got this little foam thing that holds your disc in place. Like I don't know. The nostalgia is talking. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it was nostalgic, but I was just like, if they had a better case,
Yeah.
we wouldn't need this protection. It's a pet peeve of mine. And while we're at it, while we're talking about cases, have you determined what the purpose of the Obi strip is? Because
Yes.
that is irritating. Like, I find that I've got
You
so many of these things floating around. They don't quite fit in the case.
you don't like Obi strips? I love
Well,
Obi strips.
I like the idea of like, okay, I guess when they're on sale, it like, catches the eye. But I don't know, on books
so
and stuff like that, it
so
really bothers me.
I actually had to ask a friend about it, but years ago, and he told me what it was, and then I had to look it up for confirmation because I didn't believe him because it just sounds crazy. But apparently, so in Japan, a lot of the cases, I don't know if they do this. Well, they don't do it now, but a lot of the cases back then were kind of like pieces of artwork, and they didn't want the barcode to ruin that art, so they would always have it separate to like the case so that you can always get rid of it. Now the thing is that Obi strips after a while became a collector's item. Like if you had an Obi strip with your game or your CD, that meant it was complete, like fully. Because if you notice, if you get one of your games and you take the Obi, if you look at the Obi strip, it has a barcode on it, but the disc itself or the case itself doesn't have the barcode.
That is correct. I never thought of it that way, but yes.
Yeah, it's because they see all of that as pieces of art, and they didn't want
Huh.
the they didn't want the open like the barcode to like ruin that visual fidelity. I guess
Well,
to me,
now
yeah, to me it sounded ridiculous, but yeah, that's why.
so I have behind, like, one of my shelves,
hmm
I have, like, a graveyard of Obi strips. It's like, "Oh, these things, get them out of here, get them out of here," you know?
I remember a long time ago. I actually asked people on Reddit. I was like, "Why does it our new games have Obi strips? Bring them back!" And like people are like, "But why? We would just throw them away." I like Obi strips. I think they're cool. I
Yeah,
have a
see, I
lot of
couldn't
Obi.
throw them away. Like, if a game came with it, I would keep it.
Yeah.
But I also didn't wanna, like, because then, you're very at least I'm very delicate, like, open the game and, "Oh, no, the Obi strip has fallen out. Let me try to tuck it in nicely somewhere," and
I,
these
I
are, I don't even know if these are first world problems. These are rabbit hole gaming problems.
yeah, these are just rabbit hole gaming wants and needs. I like plastic and I like cardboard boxes. I'm sorry. I like Obi strips. Dude, when I bought what was it? When I said I triple dipped for uh what was it? Death Smiles, and I said it came in that nice pretty box. It has an obi strip. Like it has an obi strip on the box itself that comes off of the bottom. I was like, yeah, I need to buy this. I'm sorry.
The Obi strip was the selling point.
Yeah, it just sold me. I needed it. I needed it.
Well, it's I think it's a good segue to our "It Came from Japan" segment, because Obi strips definitely came from Japan.
They did.
So, uh, you have anything unique, different that you got in the
Yes.
mail?
So I told you about this game. I bought Various Day Life. Do you remember that one? That was the Square Enix game that I showed you. It was.
Various Day Life.
It
Yes,
look. It
yes, yes,
looks
yes,
like a.
yes.
It looks like. It looks like a very old school RPG. But I think the part that grabs me is that it looks like it had some first person combat RPG mechanics. Now this game, I was looking at it. This game looks like it flew so below the radar that it actually crashed and burned. Um, I don't think people know this game exists. I don't think people know that Square Enix made this game, and I don't think Square Enix really cares. Um, but I imported this game because it has English, and now that I'm like looking at the case, it's okay. So they printed. I got it for the Switch, but the way that the artwork is printed on the case is horizontally. So you have to turn it horizontal to look at the case itself. There is no other game that I think does this.
There was a
Even
PSP game that did. Now I can't remember what it was, but
oh okay. But the thing is that I'm looking at it and I'm looking at the artwork and I'm like, no one's gonna buy this game because they don't know what it is. But I now that I'm looking at it, I don't want to open it, but I want to play it, but I don't want to open it, so I'm gonna have to buy another one. Um, and I don't want to, but I think I'm gonna have to.
well, I
Because
think
I
it's on Steam if you want to go that route.
oh, is it? Oh, then I'll just play it on that. But yeah, so I got Various Day Life. Um, very curious about that. I also got a survival horror game by Arc System Works, called Livestream 2. This is a sequel to another game also called Livestream that I didn't get a chance to play, but I jumped on this one because I was really shocked at how fast Livestream 1 sold. It sold out immediately, and when I was looking around for it, it just spiked in price for some absurd reason. I couldn't figure it out. Um, so as soon as number 2 came out, I pre-ordered it. I got it out the way. But it does have English, and I'm looking forward to playing this. But it's like side-scrolling horror, so we'll see what happens. But it looks like it has a lot of fan service in it, so we'll see. And last but not least, I did get my limited edition of Rattergy 2. If you don't know what Rattergy is a vertical shmup that looks like Jet Grind Radio. Um, it's it's so much fun. It's a game I've been waiting more than 15 years for. And I'm happy that it finally came out. You can get the first game on the Wii. It comes in a collection called the Ultimate Shooting Collection, and Rattergy, the first game, is on there if you can find it. But I don't know how much that game runs for, but um,
That looks
I, I
interesting.
I definitely recommend Rattergy. I just want to talk about this next game that I just bought because these next two games that I bought, they didn't come from Japan, but I wanted to talk about them because my nostalgia kicked in. So
Sweet.
I've been really craving to play. Do you remember Hydro Thunder?
Yeah, that was
I've
the Dreamcast, right? Hydro
yeah,
Thunder.
Hydro Thunder on the Dreamcast. It's like a boat racing game. I've been really craving to play that game, and I looked on my shelf because I thought I had it, and I don't. And I was like, man, I really want to play Hydro Thunder. So I went and I looked around for Hydro Thunder for Dreamcast, and there's a couple of places that I found it. But then when I Googled Hydro Thunder, I don't know why the word PlayStation 2 came up. So I was like, I don't remember Hydro Thunder ever coming out on the PlayStation 2 ever. So I started doing a lot of detective work and I started digging. Hydro Thunder is actually hidden on a Midway Arcade Treasures Classics 3. So I tracked that down and I bought a copy for $10 and it has arcade perfect Hydro Thunder on it for the PlayStation 2. So I bought
Really?
that. Yes, it's Midway Arcade Treasures number 3. It's filled with a bunch of racing games, but the thing is that Hydro Thunder is on it, and it says it at the bottom in small little letters featuring Hydro Thunder. But I never knew Hydro Thunder was on the PlayStation 2, so I picked that up.
Well,
Uh,
that has got to be a hidden gem because I enjoy the like you're talking about like midway racing games. Like what was that?
yeah,
Rush.
Rush.
Uh,
Yeah, I got Rush 2044 or 2049. Uh, Off Road Thunder. You got Rush Rock. Off Road. What Super Off Road? I think it's called. Yeah, Super Off Road. Yes, so good.
that is a sweet collection.
Yeah, it's a gem. It is a gem. I think personally, you should probably grab this. Not because it's going to be rare, but it has all of the best racing games from Midway on this one classic PS2 cart like CD. So I got that. Um, and the last thing that I got because I've been speculating on buying this for. I double dipped again. Uh, uh, do you remember a game called Deception?
That I do not know.
Okay, so there was a game. Hold on. There's a game on the PlayStation 2 called Trapped. It's spelled Trapt, and it's in Japanese. It's called Deception. Now on the PlayStation 1, they have one called Tecmo's Deception, and then Tecmo's Deception 2 and 3. Number 4 came out on the PlayStation Vita, and it came out for PlayStation 3. Then they made an updated version called Deception 4 The Nightmare Princess on the PlayStation 4. I remember when I tried to get Deception 4, it was highly overpriced everywhere. Then I noticed that games on the PlayStation 4 started to like go down just a bit. And as soon as I saw it at a reasonable price, I snagged it. And it bounced back up. So I got this game at a really good price. I got Deception 4 The Nightmare Princess. It's kind of like a, how do I explain this? It's kind of like a violent version of Home Alone. If I can,
Huh.
yeah. Think of like you playing as a demonic princess, and you basically these knights are trying to kill you. You basically have to set up traps within your castle, and then strategically lead the knights into your traps, and then set them off one by one and build combos with your traps. It's
This
it's
is a fascinating game. I've never heard of this. I'm just like looking at it now online as you're describing it. Like,
It's hilarious. I think you should grab it. Deception 4. If you can't find Nightmare Princess, just get the regular one. It's the same. But yeah, it's hilarious. It's basically Home Alone, but a demonic, bloody version of it.
wow.
Yeah,
Huh.
it's great. It's great.
I have learned something new, and I will be looking for this.
Yes, yes.
Awesome.
Keep Deception 4 on your list. What about you? What'd you get?
Well, I have for a long time wanted to play some of those Japanese train games.
Oh God, is it Denshin the Go-Go?
Yes. And so I figured, like, let's see, now might be a good time because it looks like my wife and I are going to be heading to Japan in June.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so my first trip, and of course, as I mentioned before, she works for a company over there. Um, so it's going to be like the first week. She's like, "Listen, I have a really busy schedule, so I'm just going to like leave you to your own devices in Tokyo." And I said, "Honey, I think I can manage.
You cannot.
I'm I'm going to like I know you're working late and that's fine. I mean, if I'm not home when you get back, don't worry about me. if you see huge bags of what looks like games, don't worry about it. They'll be out of the hotel room, and on a
Oh
boat going home.
no.
So,
Oh.
one of the things I was like, I'm going to be traveling a lot with the train system over there. Could I learn something about it by playing these games?
Mhm.
And I've always been interested in them, and I'm like, now I have some incentive. So I got Densha to Go. Is it Densha to Go Go or
Yeah,
Densha to Go?
yeah,
Densh.
Denshin to Go, I think is the first one, and Denshin to Go Go is the one that recently came out for the Switch. I
Yeah.
think
So
that's
I
the one
I
you have.
I got it on the PS4. I think it's came out in the Switch and
Okay.
PS4, but I don't know why I got it on the PS4. I think it was cheaper. So I
Okay.
was like, I don't even know if I'll like it. I don't know if I can play it. And then I got Railfan on the PS3.
Okay.
And they are actually, I guess, related. They're both by Taito. Um, so the Railfan obviously was the original one.
Mhm.
And it is these games are strangely, I'm not going to call them addictive, but meditative. Like,
Mhm.
to a degree, driving a train on a set track is not that interesting. It's, kind of a clear path, but it's not like someone's jumping out on the track and you have to brake. But they give you these like little ways to perfect your run.
Yeah.
So brake within 50 meters of the stop X, or hit the perfect, align the car with like the turnstile doors where you can get into the car. Um, there's some, pay attention to all the safety, honk when you go here, flash your lights here. If you see a fellow train operator coming in the opposite direction, honk at the right point so he acknowledges you. Um, if the kids are waving at you when you get to the station, honk here. Like it creates these challenges. And of course, they have like mission modes where you can, get from point A to point B in a certain time and stuff like that. So it makes it engaging, and after a while, you just kind of get into this like trans state
Mhm.
where okay, you're going from station to station and you're trying these little moves to perfect your run, and it's I'm not going to call it exciting because I don't think you can actually call these games exciting, but they are interesting. Now the
I
question, did I learn anything about the rail system? Uh I mean, to a degree, obviously, you're, you can see the kind of the map of the particular line you're on. You could see the station names. But ultimately, from the perspective of the train operator, the track just kind of looks like the track.
Right.
And very rarely, or like, I don't know that it would be useful. And of course, you can hear them read off the station names. So maybe if I were on that line, like the Densha to Go is the Yamanote line, which I'm take is one of the kind of the ones at the heart of the city.
Mm.
So if I do it long enough, I know what stations will come up, but I don't know that I'm gonna devote myself that much to it.
I I
I
remember I remember when I first saw Denshin to Go, um, the thing that I saw right next to it was the controller that you're supposed to use to play it with the two levers and the little nod. And I saw it and I was like, I feel like this is the way you should play the game. Um, but I never purchased it because the joystick was just so expensive at the time. But I did happen to find it on our favorite website, and I'm thinking about grabbing this joystick. Just
I saw it too. I saw it too. I couldn't justify it, but
yeah, I might have to get this joystick just to play Denshin to Go because I feel like it. I feel like the train games are like one of those kind of games where if you don't have the peripheral to play it, it doesn't feel right. You know what I mean?
mm,
I remember I had this exact same feeling when I got a game called Elemental Gearbolt, which is a rail shooter. But I was using the controller. But a friend told me, he was like, "Dude, you need the gun. You need the light gun or whatever it's called." And he said it just feels so much better. And I hated that game, and I ended up selling it because I was like, dude, I can't believe this game's $100. It's not fun to play. But if I had the peripheral, it might have made me change my mind. And I don't know, man. The joystick doesn't look that bad. I might have to.
Now that is such an interesting topic. Like games that in and of themselves are not that great, but if they had a specific peripheral,
Right.
they would. And I've been told that too. Like I love Initial D as a series,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually one of the earlier games that I imported was the Initial D for the PlayStation 3. And I'm like, I cannot keep this car on the road. I can't control a drift. It is so hard. And to this day, I cannot play any of those games and drift with any ability or even get close to winning a race. And someone wrote to me and is like, well, of course, you're playing with a joystick.
Oh
You
wow, yeah.
need
Mm.
at least like the Logitech, PC steering wheel,
Oh
and then
wow.
you'll be able to play it. And I'm like, "Oh, I've had one of those and I sold it. And I'm not buying another one."
It's weird. Some of these games that have like certain peripherals. Like I actually just bought um what is it called? The Hori Fighting Pad Mini. I saw it on sale on Amazon, and it just reminded me of the what do you call it? The NES Advantage. Is that what it was called? I
Oh,
never
yeah, yeah.
I never had one, but it reminded me of that. But I just wanted to play platformers with it and see how it felt. And it feels exactly like that. So I think some games just need a peripheral. You might just have a different experience with it.
Hori Fight. I think I had one of those. Was Hori Fight Pad?
Yeah, I think it's called the Hori Fight Stick Mini. It's for the Nintendo Switch. Um, it's on Amazon right now. I think it was like $40. It was on sale. I decided
Okay,
to buy it. Yeah.
interesting.
And I apologize for cutting you off. Go ahead and continue.
No, no,
It,
no. I just was like, yeah, that does look like the.
it looks like
I had
an
an
NES
early
Advantage.
version of this.
Yeah. The buttons feel exactly the same as an NES Advantage. I just wanted that classic kind of feel.
They released, I think it's 8-bit Do or Doe.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah,
actually released something that looks very similar to the NES
I,
Advantage.
I have that one too. Yeah, I'm looking
How's that?
right at it on my floor. It's fantastic. It is so good. It feels like a professional fight stick. It has Sanwa buttons in it. I think I opened it up and it has a Sanwa JLF in it, if I'm not mistaken. But it feels perfect. It feels like a Japanese arcade kind of stick. It's heavy, it's weighted, it's so good. I paid 80 when it came out. I think when it came out it was $80. I don't know how much it goes for now, but I would definitely recommend everybody grab it if you're into sticks like that.
I saw it on Woot a number of months ago,
Hmm.
and I was like, how good could this be?
It's
I have
really
some 8-bit Do controllers, and then I was like, I'll pass because I have like quite a collection of joysticks,
same. I do too. But
and
some
I just
but sometimes I come across a joystick and I just can't pass it up. I'm just like I need this, But I would definitely vouch for the 8-bit dough, the one that looks like an NES controller. That one's fantastic.
what's your prized possession joystick?
It would be the Obsidian from 8 Arc. The 8 Arc Obsidian is probably my most prized possessed arcade stick. It
8 Arc Obsidian.
yeah, I think it's like a $400 fight stick. And it pulsates on each sides of the fight stick. It's super heavy. It's made for tournaments. It plays on my PS4. That is probably my most prized possession because that thing is. That thing is great. What
Uh,
about you?
so for me, it would be the Hori Vuelix stick, that was made
Yeah,
to
yeah.
look like the Japanese arcade
hmm I remember
stick,
that one.
and I got that. I got the version that it had whatever Hori's own buttons are. Like it's not the
No,
Sanwa.
Sumetsu, I think they're called.
No, it wasn't Sanwa or Samitsu. It was they have like their own version.
Mm,
Like they're like a ripoff of those, or they consider it better. And now
okay.
it's on all of the Hori sticks. Um, I wish I knew what it was called. But anyway, when I got it, I'm like, yeah, I'm swapping all of this out. So as soon as I got it, I opened it up. I removed all the buttons,
Yep.
the joystick. I got the JLF. I got the Sanwas, and I made it sort of like multicolor, like a SNES controller.
hmm
And to me, it's now perfect.
Yeah, you did the right thing.
The I can't like Sanwa buttons. I mean, they're the best.
Yes, yes, they are. I have a whole jar full of them.
You have a whole jar. So you always find a way to one up me. You have a
Yeah.
jar just
Well,
of Sanwa buttons.
well, the only reason why I have this is because when I was really heavy into the fighting game community, I would build fight sticks for friends and other people within the community. They would always come to me and ask me to fix things or, "Hey, can you do this?" And I would just be like, "Okay, fine." And I did it for free, but just because I love doing that stuff, and I had extra parts. So, yeah, I'm that guy.
You are the man. Look at that. Building fight sticks for free because you love the community.
I have a couple of videos with fight sticks that I built on my channel. There's a couple in there.
I got to go back. I feel like your back catalog is a treasure trove.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was insane. Oh,
And
that's
hey,
still insane.
I would tell the listeners, like, go back and watch some of those videos you did with a buddy of yours where you're talking about what games will be rare and valuable.
Oh, the
I mean,
predicting games. Yeah.
all of that came true for the most part.
Yeah, it did. That's so weird.
Whatever happened to him? He seemed like a true fan.
Me and him hang out every month. He comes over and we play video games. I sit back and I watch him pummel through Super Nintendo games all the time. We and him have been friends since high school. So he
Oh,
still comes over, and we still talk
oh,
about predicting gems.
for whatever reason, I thought he was a little bit older than you, but
He is older than me.
oh, okay.
We met in high school, but he is older than me.
So you were both like he was out of high
He
school,
was
you were in high school, or
he
you
was
were
he was a senior by the time I got to freshman
okay,
year. Yeah, but he was a
man.
dude that was into video games.
Very much so. Very much
Yeah,
so. Well, I think we are, as dudes who are into video games, we are burning the midnight oil. So I think we actually got through quite a few segments we wanted to talk about.
we did.
We still have to do the we've got your number
The
3,
three. Oh, that's
which
gonna be a
is
good one.
that's it's going to be a good one. I've got 32 ideas
That sounds good.
that I will share. I think I had to limit it, but I'll share that one with you. And again, if you want to leave us a question to answer on the episode, just check out the Discord.
Or leave
Jay,
a
I think,
comment.
or
Leave a
leave a
comment.
comment. Leave a
Yeah.
comment. Share the podcast, and we will answer all questions. There's no question that we will shy away from. And hey, he's got a jar of Sanwa buttons. So if you need some free controller work, reach out. But yeah, I think we are now off to do some gaming and or shopping.
A little bit of both, yeah. I'm actually shopping now.
Yep, me too. Oh man. Well, folks, until next time, we'll see you in May with the Nights On, Lights Off podcast.